Welcome back to Modern Tactical Shooting. Now, this video is part 2 in a 2-part video series on the history of body armor with Special Forces. In part 1, I covered way back in the year 2000 when body armor became a standard issue item within Special Forces with the spear vest. I covered the types of body armor were issued and that I saw during my 3 tours in Iraq during the early Iraq years and ending in 2007. Now, here in part 2, I'll be picking up where I left off and going over the body armor I saw being used and was issued during my 3 tours in Afghanistan, ending in 2017 when I retired. So let's go! Now, if you have not seen part 1, History of Body Armor with Special Forces, I urge you to check that out. I'm going to pick up right where I left off in 2007. If you have not seen the video, I'll put a link down in the description. But in 2007, I went from being stationed at 5th Special Forces Group to Fort Bragg, North Carolina to work as an instructor at our primary CQB schoolhouse. We did not have issued body armor. We did not run the Eagle Ceres Maritime vest. We actually had unit purchased Paraclete vests. But after my time in the schoolhouse ended and I rotated to 3rd Special Forces Group, I fell in on the Eagle Industries MBAV body armor, which was adopted by Special Forces in 2009. With the MBAV, there are some pros and cons, I think. The pros, it was a plate carrier and not a full wrap-around body armor style vest. So lighter overall and less material covering one's body, so it was lighter and a little bit cooler. The cons, first the color, we were issued khaki MBAVs all the way up until 2014. Of course, this is long after the Army adopted OCP or multicam. Khakis, okay, but actually it was too light for some regions of Afghanistan. There's a lot of wooded areas in Afghanistan, so it just didn't fit in. The other con, I would say, is comfort. I found it not comfortable at all. The issue was the shoulder straps. I think they were way too thin and under padded. And while it was a plate carrier, it still retained a lot, I would say, full body armor style shape. It had a lot of extra material around the plate pocket, so it was cut more like a vest than a true plate carrier. All right, this soldier right here is Bill Esterjak, retired Special Forces soldier I served with during my last tour in Afghanistan in 2015. I really need to bring him on my channel. He has a great story, which I witnessed, a basically one-man firefight with the Taliban. It's actually a pretty funny story. I need to get him on. You're going to see a picture of him later on rocking a Crye AVS, and that's from the tour with me. Now, with the adoption of the Eagle MBAV in 2009, Special Forces and the Rangers actually adopted side hard armor plates also. Up until that point, up until 2009, the only side armor protection was the spear plate backer panels. They did have some wraparound protection. They just weren't the size of the plate. But we did not get side hard armor till 2009. Now, the regular Army, I believe, got side hard plates a little earlier, and their side hard plates are a lot larger than what we were issued in Special Forces. Luckily, these are a little bit smaller and lighter. These are 5.5 by 5.5 inch ballistic squares that will stop rifle rounds. Now, I never wore these in combat, and that's based off of my assessment of weight, protection, and mobility. It just wasn't worth, even though these together only weigh 2.5 pounds, it just wasn't worth the trade-off of the extra weight. A fully rigged up plate carrier with front and back hard plates, ammunition, frags, smokes, water, or radio. My vest tipped over just over 30 pounds for Afghanistan, and I just didn't want the extra weight of side hard armor slowing me down. Now, I did go with some side soft armor panels. Special Forces, they're not issued side soft armor. I purchased these on my own and wore them all 3 tours in Afghanistan. These are level 3A panels, so they'll stop pistol rounds and frag from explosions. So I figured this was better than nothing. Now, I did wear these side hard plates when I was in training back in the States, especially for CQB training, the shoot house. I always wore side plates. And when I was a team sergeant, I'd make my guys wear side plates in training. But out on actual missions, the only mandatory item is front and back hard plates. Again, you got to balance weight and mobility versus protection. You can only armor up so much. You've got to be able to move and fight to defeat the enemy. You can't just turtle up and hope armor saves you. That's really not how it works in combat. Now, when I first got to 3rd Special Forces Group in 2010, I was issued an Eagle MBAV, and I used one for my first tour in Afghanistan in 2012. But halfway through my second tour in Afghanistan in 2014, I replaced it with a ATS Tactical Gear Aegis plate carrier. This one right here. Now, I have a whole separate video on the ATS Aegis plate carrier, so I won't go into super amount of depth in this video. But the reason why I replaced the MBAV, again, is based on comfort. It just wasn't that comfortable with the full weight of everything you needed for combat: ammo, water, grenades, radios, and things such as that. All right, you may have noticed this sweet Mark 18 skateboard deck hanging on the wall behind me. This is from Raid Skateboards, a veteran-owned company. And the reason why I like to mention Raid Skateboards is they put on events called Skate Therapy, and that is for active duty and former military personnel to go out and get their skateboarding on. I'm not into skateboarding, but I think these make great pieces of modern art. They sell a whole bunch of firearm-related skateboard decks. Again, they put on these events called Skate Therapy as a positive outlet for veterans or active duty members who could be having issues, as a way to go out and escape their problems, even just for a little while. And I'm all for that. I'm all for any types of therapy or services for our veterans, wounded warriors, and active duty military personnel. I know too many former military soldiers that have taken their lives or lost their lives through drug abuse or other problems. So if there's a positive outlet, an alternative way of dealing with issues, I'm happy to mention them on my channel. Now, you can support Raid Skateboards by going to raidsb.com, purchasing one of their sweet firearm decks. Again, if you're not into skateboarding and you're like me, hang one of these on your wall. I think they look super cool. So go ahead, by all means, check them out. So I wore this ATS Aegis plate carrier the middle of the summer of 2014, finishing out my second tour in Afghanistan, and wore it the entire time I was doing the commando mission in 2015 with my ODA. And actually, a few members saw me with my Aegis, and they actually bought a few Aegis plate carriers themselves. Again, this is the same one. I have a complete video on this, so I'll put a link down in the description. But this plate carrier is still going strong. In fact, I wore it a few weeks ago down in Columbus, Georgia, during the Moog Mile 5K run that Ranger Regiment puts on in honor, of course, the Black Hawk Down incident back in 1993, and the Rangers that sacrificed themselves and the military members that sacrificed their lives on that mission. But I wore this bad boy during the 5K run. I ran it with my son, who is a member of Ranger Regiment. Now, I mentioned how I purchased my own plate carrier, and there's a lot of SF guys that purchase their own gear. Not every SF guy is a total gear guy, and some went with just what they're issued. But ever since the Crye JPC came out, that's their jumpable plate carrier, which is a super minimalistic carrier, very popular with Tier 1 units. There was a huge demand in Army SF for the JPC. But instead, we got issued the Crye AVS. Now, the Crye AVS, or Adapted Vest System, is a modular carrier designed to be able to configure a little bit based on what the soldier wants or his desires. And therein lies the issue I have with the AVS. It is still not just a simple minimalistic carrier. In my opinion, it just has too much extra unneeded stuff built into it, overcomplicating it. Now, to see what I'm talking about, I actually got my hands on a Buddy's issued Crye AVS, and we're going to cut to a clip of me going over it right here. All right, I've got a very well-used Crye AVS right here. Let's talk about the Crye AVS system real quick. It comes, of course, with this plate carrier and this kind of yoke backstrap attachment and belt. But basically, to get it to a stripped-down plate carrier, you got to take all this stuff off and hold on to this your entire military career, just to get it kind of like a Crye JPC, which is what guys actually really wanted. Now, one thing I don't like about the AVS is it has a plastic release buckle on one shoulder, which is the left shoulder, which is, if you're a lefty, this can be kind of an annoyance. So it's really made for right-handed shooters. And to get it basically stripped down to just a plate carrier, it is kind of complicated. And the adjustment methods for the cummerbund, kind of complicated. It's an overly built system because they wanted modularity, so you could rig it up based on the mission. But that's not how guys rig stuff. They rig their kit up for what they're expecting to see the most or most often, and they stay with it like that. So guys wanted the Crye JPC, and they got the AVS, which really doesn't fit the bill. Now, of course, I retired in 2017. Again, I never wore the AVS. I didn't care for it, but it is still the issued body armor for Rangers and Special Forces to this day. Hopefully, maybe they'll get something better. I know a lot of SF guys and Rangers do like it. It just wasn't for me. Now, let me switch over to uniforms real quick. You may have noticed this BDU top in woodland hanging on the wall behind me. On my social media, anytime I post pictures of myself from my time in Afghanistan, I'm wearing BDUs, and more often than not, people who don't know me, and I'm not that well known, they usually claim that I'm MARSOC. I guess MARSOC wears BDUs a lot in training, but in the Special Forces, we wore BDUs well past the time when multicam or OCP replaced the ACUs. And replaced BDUs. But the reason we wore BDUs was to blend in with the Afghans that we worked with. If you had the Afghan commando mission, they wore BDUs, so we wore BDUs to blend in. Special Forces issues Crye BDUs, super fancy, but they never issue enough for every man in Special Forces to have some Crye BDUs. So I wore old school BDUs, pockets on the shoulders that I had modified way back when I was in 5th group in the early 2000s. But this is one of the tops I wore, still have the patches. This is actually a Commando SF patch. I have some Commando patches. And of course my old team patch, 3122, the double deuce. All right, congratulations. If you've made it this far into the video, you are at the end, and I have a special treat or offer for you. If you like this Mark 18 skateboard deck from Raid Skateboards, here is your chance to win one of your very own. So how do you win one of these bad boys? From the posting of this video until October 22nd, that's this Saturday at 6 p.m. East Coast time, I would like you to post down in the comments 100 words or less why you think you deserve one of these Mark 18 skateboard decks, and I will select the most convincing, entertaining reason why you need or deserve to have one of these, and I will make that announcement at 8 p.m. East Coast time. My favorite reason why, the winner of, why someone needs one of these. So again, when 100 words or less, post down in the comments your reason why you deserve this Mark 18 skateboard deck. And if I choose your reason, you will get one of these straight from Raid Skateboards. Again, the deadline for this is October 22nd, 6 p.m. I'll take all comments up to that time. And 2 hours later, I will announce the winner here on YouTube, and I'll post it up on Instagram. So go ahead and put your reason why you need one of these. Again, the most entertaining and convincing story is what I'm looking for. So there it is. That is the history of Special Forces body armor. Mainly what I saw being used in Afghanistan, and really what is the current issued body armor right now, which is the Crye AVS. Now, as always, hopefully you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. I'm Jeff Gerwich, and as always, thanks for watching.